everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and last night I got to see The Nun 2, which is the latest entry in the Conjuring universe, which, you know, by the way, the Conjuring universe, it started off so promising. You know, I thought we were going to get like this endless series of investigation by the Warrens, and we didn't end up getting 3 of those. But you know, it feels like this whole franchise got bogged down by, you know, we got 3 Annabelle prequel movies and La Llorona, and now 2 Nun movies, and none of those are as good as those first 2 Conjuring movies. Even the 3rd Conjuring was kind of bad, you know. So like it kind of sucks, because like, man, I remember when the first one came out and it had so much promise, and then the second one was still mostly good. I think the ending is kind of weak in the second one, but you know, like it felt like it had so much promise, because like the Conjuring kind of, I don't know if it necessarily gave birth to the newest wave of like Blumhouse movies, but it definitely felt like the beginning of an era there, right? Because you had The Conjuring, and then Insidious, and then Sinister, and then, you know, like it felt like a wave of new horror movies were coming out. But here we are, The Nun 2. The second thing I want to say though is that I saw the first Nun movie when it came out in theaters. 2018, I guess. And I haven't watched it since. It's never been like on my Halloween movie rotation or anything. So I had forgotten a lot of that movie, like large portions. And this one does a good job of trying to remind you of things that happened. But here's my problem. So if you go watch the Annabelle prequel movies, every single one of the Annabelle movies, at least for the most part, it's like a brand new cast of characters doing a brand new thing, right? Like they're all kind of standalone Annabelle prequel movies, you know, as they just kind of go through the timeline of events. This one is not like that. You know, this one you actually do have to remember who these characters were and what happened in that first movie. And the reason I say this is because I was literally like almost halfway through this movie. We had been following this boarding school, and there's this groundskeeper there, and some weird stuff starts happening. I was like halfway through the movie before I realized, oh wait, no, that guy was in the first movie. I'm supposed to know that. You know, so like the whole time I'm like, why are we following this groundskeeper? Why is all this weird stuff happening? Oh, it was him in that I completely forgot. And this movie kind of poses a problem, which I've been told not many people will care about, but I think, look, I'm kind of a continuity snob a little bit. It bothers me. I try to get over it, whatever. I know it's The Nun 2. No one really is going to care, but I'll bring it up when we get there. But yeah, for the most part, look, The Nun 2, it's kind of exactly what you expect it to be at this point. It's, you know, it's jump scare central. They do get some, you know, pretty creative ones in there, but it is just a bunch of jump scares and loud noises. You know, everything's real quiet, and then sudden loud noise, you know. I will say they don't do like cheap ones. Like a cheap jump scare would be like your classic, like, oh, you open the fridge and you expect something to be behind the fridge when they close the door, and then it's always like just another character or like a cat or something, and it's like, oh, it wasn't actually the scary thing. They don't do that. I am glad with that. Like the Nun is constantly in this movie. The Nun is constantly doing stuff. You know, even like from country to country. That's the kind of interesting thing about this one, is that like the Nun is not tied to a central location or even like a central person. Like we have, you know, essentially this whole like detective thing happening where this nun is trying to, I mean, not the nun, the protagonist, the lady, she is also a nun though. She's trying to uncover the mystery about what's happening. So she's going from country to country, and she's seeing visions, and she's getting haunted by the nun. Meanwhile, at the boarding school, the nun is also over there. So I'm like, the nun is really busy in this entire movie. Yeah, just they get pretty creative with it. There are some really decent ones, and I will say during the 3rd act, they do introduce some interesting things. For example, and I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil it. Earlier in the movie, they had introduced this whole stained glass window where there's like a goat, and the kids are like, "Ooh, that might be the devil." And if you stare at the stained glass window at a certain point in time, And basically somehow that goat leaves the stained glass window, and then now there's a goat man, and the goat man is running on all fours chasing people down hallways, and so they gotta watch out for the goat man. And then the groundskeeper is also possessed, so they gotta watch out for the groundskeeper. And then this old lady who had died earlier, her zombie self is now back, and now she's running after people, you know. So like they really go for it in the third act of this one, you know, like they have multiple creatures chasing down different groups of people in this boarding school. So you know, like they do a good job of keeping the tension there, even if it is somewhat predictable. My other thing, you know, other than the fact that you probably should remember what happens in the first Nun movie, is that this movie weirdly, like, they just start throwing in some lore into the Conjuring world, and it gets kind of weird. So first off, are we supposed to believe that this protagonist nun is, you know, the protagonist, the good, I don't remember her name, but the good guy. Are we supposed to believe that she's related to Lorraine Warren? Because she has the same powers as Lorraine, and I believe the actress playing her is the sister of the actress who plays Lorraine. But I don't remember if the first movie ever confirmed that, like, oh yeah, this is like her grandma or her mom or something, because obviously her being a nun in these movies would be a problem with her having any kind of grandchild, right? So I don't know how that works. I don't know, like, I'm gonna have to look that up. But they have the exact same powers, you know, that Lorraine has in the Conjuring movies. And they even go so far as to say that, like, oh, she's basically, they say that she's the descendant of this saint for the blind who had the eyes removed, and she, you know, she's got like saint powers and magic eyes, and that's why she has all these visions. So if that's the case, if she's like related to the saint and that's the explanation for the powers, then she is related to Lorraine Warren. I don't know. They haven't made that clear, unless I missed it, unless I'm being dumb and I'm like, oh no, she stops being a nun at some point. But by the end of this movie, she's still a nun, which means she's not gonna have a kid, right? Is that how that works? That is how that works, right? Anyways, she has the same powers, so I'm assuming there's some kind of familial relation there. I don't know. Speaking of the eye thing with the saints, this is like, it's kind of weird. They do not introduce this idea until like the beginning of the third act, that basically, you know, yeah, the descendants of this saint for the blind, she had magic eyes, and her descendants had run all over the world, running away from prosecution with these magic eyes. And now the demon wants these magic eyes, and those are inside of the boarding school that the demon is currently haunting. It's all very coincidental, and it's all very like, it's like a last minute thing. So I don't know if this was like something that was originally a bigger part of the story, and they just kind of like edited it down to put in more scares, because like it really felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden it's really important. And of course the eyes are how they you know, stop the demon, basically. Or, well, no, they don't even, that's not even how they stop the demon. The demon gets the eyes, and then they do something. Basically, they're in a wine cellar, and they're able to pray on the wine and turn that into the blood of Christ, and the wine explodes everywhere and gets all over the demon. So the demon kind of just dissolves away because of that. So here's the big problem, continuity-wise, is that, okay, so the first Nun movie ended with this groundskeeper guy being all possessed, and then they kind of do this reveal that in the very first Conjuring movie, at the very beginning, the Warrens are showing footage to a class about them, you know, exorcising this demon out of this guy, and it's revealed to be the groundskeeper from that movie. The problem now is that in the Nun 2, it's all about this groundskeeper, and he's still possessed, and they seemingly get rid of the demon, the nun, right? Like, she's gone now. She's not possessing this groundskeeper anymore. But of course, it's like, so then what's, you know, why is it that years later the Warrens have to, are exorcising the nun demon out of the groundskeeper then, you know? So I guess you can only conclude that, like, even though they got rid of the demon this time. Seemingly, like the wine turned into the blood and all that. I guess the demon's still inside the groundskeeper, even though they really made it seem like a happy ending, you know. So I don't know. That seems like a weird continuity thing, because like they purposefully left that there in the first movie because it ties into the first Conjuring, and now they've undone that, you know. So it's like, okay, whatever. My other thing is that in the Conjuring 2, the way they got rid of this nun demon, the Vecna, I think. No, is that Stranger Things? Am I thinking Stranger Things? Anyways, whatever. The way they got rid of the nun demon is just by revealing her name. And they like, I remember Lorraine just like said her name really loud and dramatically, and then the demon went away. And I was like, okay, so that's all these characters have to do, right? But no one ever figures that out. Like, that's not even like a thing they think about. They go this completely other route to get rid of the demon. So I don't know. I mean, I agree. It's a lame way to get rid of a demon, right? Like, I'll just say the name. That's it. Yeah. So, at least I guess this was like a cooler way of getting rid of the demon. I don't know. Overall, I'll say this. Like, look, the nun is creepy. They introduced some other creatures at the very end, and so that's a cool idea that they did that. I'm sure someone in a boardroom is hoping that, like, oh, maybe the Goat Man can have his own movie, you know. Like, I'm sure someone's already like writing that down. But you know, it's definitely just like, if you're looking for some jump scares, if you're looking for, you know, maybe a movie theater that might all go whoa at the same time, you know, it's one of those, you know. It's nothing special here. This is not like, I wouldn't even say this is in the top 5 of the Conjuring universe. It's just like another one, you know. Like, it's fine. It's not even like horribly bad or cheesy. I mean, just definitely got some cheesy parts, but you know, it's just kind of average. It feels like you've seen this a million times, and that's fine. I mean, it has some good, really decent scares in there. I kind of wish I never saw the trailers, because the trailers definitely spoil some good ones, you know. Like when we're getting to certain points, I'm like, oh, that was a really good one. Wish I didn't see that in the trailer, because that was like, dang, that was a good scare. But yeah, just overall, look, I don't think the makers of this care about the continuity really at all. I don't think they care about building the universe. Honestly, The Conjuring essentially just turned into a way of like, let's pump out some scary looking monsters, and then let's try to spin those off into prequels where we can make like 4 prequels each, you know. So we did our Annabelle, we have our Nun. I know the Slender, no, it's not the Slender Man, it's the oh man, it was also in the second one. He was like a really tall, lanky guy. I don't remember what his name was. They had a name for him, this other ghost spirit thing. I know he was trying to get his own movie, so I'm assuming that that's still in the works at some point. So you know, the Conjuring series is not done. It's just like, I much rather they would have like stuck with just trying to do more, like, you know, give us the Conjuring 4, like have Ed and Lorraine Warren do more, you know, investigations. Like, that's a much more interesting setup than just having endless prequels and then sequels to those prequels, and now you have like 3 prequels movies, and it's all just kind of like, you know, the continuity doesn't really matter. It's just like, you know what you're getting into kind of thing. Like, I wish they would just go back to doing the Conjuring movies, even if the third one wasn't that great. Like, just, you know, maybe those 2 actors are just too hard, like they cost too much money now, because, you know, they're both kind of like bigger names than they were when the first Conjuring movie came out. I don't know, but yeah, I wish they'd go back to doing that. But in any case, the Nun 2, it's fine. If you're looking for a jump scare horror movie, this will serve you fine. If you're in the mood for it, if you're trying to prepare for like the Halloween season, which I know a lot of stores are already putting up Halloween decorations, so like, if you're in the mood, this will serve fine. There will be, you know, theaters full of people just kind of looking to get jump scared. So here you go. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.